Welcome, friends, be you cyborgs, insectoids, Glevin, Koi, Terrans, or any other interplanetary creatures, to this week's episode of Science Fiction Fantasies. Actions have consequences. We all know this. Another way of putting this is, you reap what you sow. This week's story is about such an occurrence. Sit back and relax, if you can, and enjoy the road to Damascus. The winking red light on Bethal's comm unit refused to be ignored. It was a very secure, very private channel, and the Nephilim commander knew who was on the other end. He suppressed the winking light.
Not now, I'm busy.
What was that, sir?
I said, give me the capitans.
Aye, sir.
4 holograms pixelated, and Shar was first, followed by Elish, the mission tactical officer. Then came Apsu, and finally, second for this mission, Marduk.
We have a tight schedule on this one. No time for grandstanding. Drop in, pick up the cargo, and get out. Understood? Questions?
What good is being a god if you don't get to do godly things?
On Series 7, I command, Marduk. On Office 2, you command. You can wait to be a god until then. Elish, move the ships into position. I'm going to have to do something about Marduk before he does something about me. The rest of you, prepare to execute your orders. Mather out. Hellsman, you have control. I'll be in my cabin if you need me.
Aye, sir.
In Nephilim society, advancement occurred by eliminating those above. To keep your position, you eliminated those seeking to rise. Understanding this, the Igigi, the master race, had ensnared the Nephilim and kept them enslaved. The Igigi were galactic cannibals. They survived by ingesting the life energy of others. They conquered, leaving total destruction in their wake. To save the Nephilim, Bethal devised a method of farming people to feed the Igigi. Some questioned Nephilim morality in doing this, but as Bethal saw it, if the Igigi were eating others, they weren't eating Nephilim. Others questioned Bethal's method of farming. They felt that preying on the superstitious fears of primitive people who saw extraterrestrials as gods was immoral. In truth, they wished they had thought of it first. The proven method was to leave Nephilim clones on the chosen planets to guide their developing cultures into subservience. At harvest time, the locals willingly entered the Nephilim ships. On Ceres 7, the guide had been Bethal's clone. But the clone had proven capricious. He had failed to advance beyond his earlier genetic programming. Bethal's clone still believed he was there to save the inhabitants. Secure in his cabin, Bethal opened the secret comm line. His clone answered immediately.
Father.
Yes, what is it?
You are angry with me.
I don't have time for this. What is your purpose?
To be the gateway and the light, to bring the souls of my brethren to a better place by your side.
So what's the problem?
Some say that you are not our god, but an alien.
Does it matter? Am I not bringing them a better existence?
Are you? I was taught that bringing these people to you was their salvation. But if you are not their god, then it would be bondage. Would you be a slave?
What do you know about it? You know nothing about wearing a yoke.
I know how you feel about the Igigi.
Without answering, Bethal terminated the connection. Getting a grip on his emotions, he returned to the bridge. There was a mission to accomplish. One day a week, all the peoples of Ceres 7 gathered in their town squares before large view screens. There they listened to the leading religious figure broadcast the good news. These broadcasts were closely monitored. Bethal had not missed one since his arrival. Today's message would be delivered by Father Franklin.
It is time for the good news. On screen.
Salvation is near, though none knoweth the hour.
I do. Helm, give me the capitans.
Aye, sir. Holograms coming up.
Marduk, status?
All ships on station and ready.
Initiate salvation sequence. Execute on my command.
Aye, sir.
From the tactical screens, Bethal watched projection arrays slide out on narrow rails, rotating slightly as targets were acquired. Launchers loaded with pods filled with electronic transmitters and image enhancers locked onto specific areas of the troposphere below. The last decade of saturating the atmosphere with chemtrails was about to pay off. The areas of barium sulfate, aluminum, and desiccated red blood cells would not only enhance the electronic signals, it had also aided in rendering the populace submissive. Bethal typed a string of codes into the comm unit, then sat back. He waited as the slower, less sophisticated computers of the local inhabitants went through their security protocols. The spinning icon stopped.
Lord!
Father Franklin, is all in readiness?
Yes, Lord Bethal.
Well done, Father Franklin. Marduk, execute salvation sequence. Father Franklin, if you would be so kind as to announce my coming.
Friends, fellow faithful, the truth of the good news is upon us. Look up.
In the sky above each town, an image of Bethal appeared. The image spread its arms in welcome. Around Bethal appeared 4 ships.
Behold, the time of salvation is upon us. The one hoped for has come for his children. He has come to gather us to his bosom. Let none be afraid. Make your way to the welcoming. Orderly. Remain orderly.
The loading was proceeding smoothly. The deluded masses willingly climbed up the ramps only to disappear into the holds of the huge space-going ships. All were convinced that their savior had come to take them to the promised land. Bethal personally greeted the first 2,000 or 3,000 before stepping aside in favor of the hologram of himself. He now hurried to the bridge of his command ship. A few taps on the icons of his wrist comm illuminated the heads-up display of the tactical screen. The blistering voice of Marduk in Bethal's earpiece provided the cadence for his footsteps.
It's that crazy clone of yours. He's advancing on the southern landing, and he has a small army with him.
Oh, it's probably just a small ragtag outfit. What the? Those weapons are of Nephilim design.
This is your doing. The Igigi will hear of this.
Marduk, throw a containment field around the clone and move some hollow ships towards him. That should hold him off. Bridge, I'll be there momentarily.
I'll take care of your clone. Then, I'll take care of you, traitor.
Bethal swept onto the bridge and took his seat. With a hand gesture, he motioned for the main screen to show the surface. He opened a compartment under the armrest of his chair. From it, he withdrew the halo, so called because of the yellowish glow it emitted when worn. With the halo on, he could control all 5 of his ships with a mere thought. It was seldom used, but all captains knew what it meant to wear one. Battle. Bethal slipped it on, wincing slightly as the probes anchored themselves into his skull and the receptors plunged ultra-thin needles through his skull into his brain. Multiple screens appeared before his eyes. Bethal could see that the containment field Marduk had put up around the advancing Cerisians was weakening under the concentrated assault of the attackers. He again wondered how they had developed Nephilim weaponry. He opened the channel to his clone.
What do you think you are doing? Cease fire this instant.
Why should we? You have betrayed us.
Don't do this, you will all die.
Better one death as a free man than 1,000 as a slave. Wouldn't you agree?
What do you know of slavery?
I know that you are one. I feel the Igigi chains around your ankles. I see the Igigi yoke across your shoulders and its well-worn groove. I know that it chafes you.
It is true that my Nephilim heritage screams for release, but now is not the time.
There is never a good time. Prepare yourself to learn.
Learn what?
Watch.
What are you doing to my screens?
Your screens are now blank, save one. What do you see?
Ceressians dying as Igigi feed. What has this to do with me?
You play God, Father. It may surprise you to know there is one, and he is displeased.
The images on the screen are changing. It is no longer Ceressians dying. It is Nephilim.
This is what will happen, Father. God has decreed it. Unless you put an end to this abomination.
That's impossible. You're hacking the computers. You're generating these images.
No, Father. It is very possible. Perhaps you are not persuaded. Captain, we've lost all power.
What's happening? What did you do?
I did nothing. It is the work of God.
What would you have me do?
You know what to do. Captain, power is returning. Normal operations have been restored. What just happened?
Run a complete scan of operational systems.
Operations normal.
Summon the captains.
All responded quickly, except Marduk. His hologram remained blank.
The clone has mounted an armed resistance in Marduk's sector. Be prepared to leave immediately.
The holograms winked out. Through the halo, Bethal located Marduk 30 clicks in front of the clone's army. He stood atop the arched entryway of a park in plain sight.
Planning something godly, Marduk? Not as long as I wear the halo.
Through the halo, Bethal overrode Marduk's command protocols. The ship went on battle alert. Then the large screens in the town squares filled with Bethal's image. He pumped the volume up to a painful level.
You dare to oppose me? Watch and tremble. Feel my wrath.
From the huge screens on the ground, it looked like the hollow ships had unleashed an immense barrage of firepower. The ramp of Marduk's ship began to retract. Ceressians scattered, seeking shelter. The ship began to rise slowly. Marduk looked back.
You're a coward, Bathal. An embarrassment to the Nephilim. The Igigi will put me in your place.
I don't think so.
Marduk loaded his shoulder-fired launcher with a sonic grenade, one of the few weapons that could penetrate a containment field. He raised it and sighted at the clone. Bethal tapped an icon on his wristband. To all the observers, it looked like two beams of light escaped from the containment field. One took Marduk and disintegrated him. The second burned its way into the bridge of Marduk's ship. The ponderous vessel stopped rising and settled back to the surface. A single blaster cannon from Marduk's ship fired twice. The first burst the containment field. The second erupted at the last known position of the clone. Then the screens and sensors went blank. Bethal checked the scans. All was as it should be. He opened a channel to the captains.
Gentlemen, I fear the worst has happened. I suggest we leave immediately with what we have. I will take the responsibility with the Igigi. Do it now.
The Nephilim fleet left the planet en route to Morpheus 2. Before taking off the halo, Bethal received a call from his clone.
Father, you have done well.
We shall see. You must now do as I say. The others will believe that you and your followers are dead. Do nothing for one day. Tomorrow at this time, go to the ship and speak the word Eftah. The ramp will lead down. Lead your followers inside. Your followers only, no others. Once inside, you will find everyone in stasis. Speak the word Sacre, and the ramp will retract and the ship will depart. Do you understand?
Yes, Father, but...
No buts. You must do exactly as I've told you, when I told you to. Your life depends on it. Once you are on board, the ship will teach you all it knows.
Yes, Father. Where?
It's a planet called Damascus. It's a nice little planet, much like Series 7. Most importantly, you will be safe there. The Iggy ravaged it centuries ago, and they never return to a planet once they've been there.
You will return?
I will return.
Then we will meet again, Father, on the road to Damascus.
As Bethal found out, deception can be a two-edged sword. Sometimes one must feast at the table they themselves set. We hope you have enjoyed this week's episode, The Road to Damascus. Join us again next week at this time for another episode of Science Fiction Fantasies. Until then, whatever you believe, keep your head up and dream big. The universe is an awesome place. Good night.